Alright, for section 3, this is for, you can see the little at the top right, the yellow part that's supposed to represent the 15% or whatever. It's not completely accurate. Sorry for the background noise, but it's supposed to give you a good sort of representation of what's going on, better than what you can find available nowadays. But anyway, in this section, it gets more complex because if you're a section 3 person or whatever term I call it, you need to understand what targets experience at this point. Prior to this, you were connected via V2K 24/7, but only sent minor things or sent an extreme of one thing, like chemtrails, nanobots, hackers, implants, blah blah blah. Targets in this section have felt more of the things you are suffering, and therefore have a broader perspective. And I'm talking about section 2 or section 1. We've all gone through our near-death experiences. We've all blamed our neighbors, blah blah blah. A more informed perspective. Because the reason to how these things are happening dwindled as they slowly found out. So as they slowly got hit by this after years and years of it, they've been through carrots on the sticking. They've been through the emotional, psychological torture. They've been through the social rejection from family, friends, and whatnot. They've been through all the horrible websites that are there to disinform you or mislead you, and it's obviously the very few that actually help you and tell you the truth. They've been through all of that turmoil. Excuse me. These targets are also people smart enough to get through all the prior disinformation campaigns and gangstalker tactics, usually with no friends or family left at this point. At this point, they are trying to force shake your paradigm to mind control you. When you get to this point, you can actually feel them manipulating your inner thoughts, your paradigms. You can actually feel them. You know how they send you Morgellons on your right arm, or heat, or a ticking sensation here, or bugs, or all that basic stuff. At this point you're actually feeling them send you neural pathway maps. So if you think of a sour lemon, and you go, and you feel that pull. And if you're trying to picture yourself biting into a lemon, that pull, you can feel it in your brain. That's why you just did it. That's why my face just did that. My face showed you that because that's what my brain's feeling when I bite into a lemon. They're sending you maps for things like that sour lemon, but for general things like general everyday things like don't be angry at us for your torture, and go to work and feel good about going to work, and just controlling thought paths and trying to force you into them, like mold your head into them. And that's what you start experiencing at this level. If you don't listen to them, they'll shake you, they'll spin you, they'll give you motion sickness and make you feel ill, and they'll pressure you and cognitively dissonance you. They'll move your center of focus up and down. There's all sorts of torture, and I've been through so much, it's not even funny on this level. But they're trying to literally plasticize your brain so they can reprogram it. But anyway, to mind control you, or you're being held as a slave for the practice of new students in the field of mind. You're being used as practice for new students in the mind control field. So I can actually feel the students practicing different mechanics on me, and then getting marked off for it. Like I can actually see it happening because it's so repetitive. So there's some kid there sitting behind this AI who's obviously employed as a psychologist to do mind control. I can feel him there, literally having to hit targets using my thought processes, making me force Ethernet to live off of it. So I know that someone's practicing and someone's training on me because it's so bad. I can see it. So that's why I go on to say their ignorance here is what allowed me to figure this all out. These targets generally post better comments. These targets, section 3, generally post better comments for the community and understand social engineering to a degree. Targets in this spectrum are victims of, but are not limited to, 24/7 speech harassment via mind control, in the sense that they are actually being talked to now. When I talk to MI6 and stuff, I'm not fooled by this what's going on. I'm not a section 1 or a section 2. I know that there's a guy sitting behind a computer right now, and he's in my head. And there's a couple of them and an AI, and I'm talking to them directly, and they'll pretend to be different people, and they'll try and make up a paradigm of someone, make up a wall, make up a character, and I will look past that character and I'll say, look, stop trying to fool me, and then I will start talking again. And it's through this sort of communication that Section 3 should be, doing and actively pursuing and actively attacking. As they now know, it's a user behind a mind control device. There we go. In this section, you also get sexual rape. Like I said earlier with the butt probing and whatnot, they do a lot more than just butt probing. I've experienced a lot of sexual things through this technology. Some of this stuff, I mean, look, I'm targeted. I'm 25. They're killing me. Some of the stuff I would never be able to experience in my life, and I'm a guy, so sexual content's always cool. But obviously, after 2 years of torture, you kind of just accept the fact that it's not rape anymore. You know that these guys are practicing. They have an AI with the world's porn index of the mind recorded. You can make use of it in your sad slave situations just to get by every now and then, and I do, and I have, and but unfortunately, at the end of the day, it's still assault and rape, and we experience this via mind control. So let me just keep reading. Yeah. Okay. They send you the feeling of it via a computer model of your body, like a digital voodoo doll. I'm going to explain that technology to you after Section 3. I've got a few graphs to show you how it works and explain everything to you. Emotional conditioning. This is where they actually remove. In Section 1, I told you people got sent feelings of anxiety and stress in the stomach. When you have stress, you have this pulling, burny feeling in your stomach. That's them sending it to you. Okay. Now, I'm not saying normally that would be stress from your own mind. That's how you perceive stress. But when you're not in a stressful situation, and through mind control they send you stress, you will feel that stomach stressful pull, right? And that's the emotional conditioning and emotional manipulation aspect of this technology. They can remove your emotions, make you blank, and then put you through horrible circumstances, and you'll be confused because you're so used to having emotions off the back of what you're going through. Now you feel nothing and emptiness, and then they'll add in emotions as soon as you get used to that, to just slowly program you and slowly tweak you in different ways. It's crazy. That's why I call it conditioning. It's no different from my voodoo doll explanation above with the sexual rape, but they just send you stomach/chest area, the relevant emotions, blah blah blah. We'll get to that later. Forced sleep deprivation, torture, and this is what everyone receives, but generally Section 3 guys get it 24/7. We get a set curfew, like 5-6 hours sleep, and then randomly in every 2 weeks or 1 week we'll get a spurt of where we don't sleep for 2 to 3 days, where our eyes become black and we don't look employable, we can't get up out of bed. This is where they're literally holding us down. Okay. Mind control can force your body clock to turn on and off again, keeping you awake for days. This exhausts your brain and makes you weaker to mind control the next day, as well as makes you lose your job and make you look unhealthy to others around you, which then they'll go mind control that person to think that you really do seriously have mental problems. And so the control mechanics go on and on and on. Consistent cognitive dissonance condition. Now, cognitive dissonance conditioning is extremely dangerous. Repetitive cognitive dissonance to make you lose your paradigm. Cognitive dissonance is difficult to explain because people don't really they misidentify how crazy dangerous it is when someone can actually force cognitive dissonance into you and use it in a psychological way as a psychological tool. But I'll explain cognitive consistent, especially cognitive dissonance, and even teaching you to be cognitively dissonant against your will, like conditioning, which is what I'm trying to say. Extreme/accurate attack via mind control, and this is like really extreme stuff. Like they will literally plan my day to day and watch me as I see it happening. And there's nothing I can do about it, and I can identify how accurate it is. I can identify why my uncle's doing this, why he bothered speaking like that, and I can't do anything. I can't express myself. I can't tell him what's happening to him, and it ends up in putting me in these horrible situations, like losing my job or having to shout at my uncle trying to wake him up, or you can see the plans trying to unfold, and they keep testing you because it means nothing to them, so they can just do it. You know, they just create these situations and just to see how you function in them. Like you're this little sim computer game to them. Yeah, it's like they're playing Sims on their computer. Let's see what happens when we make these two meet and say this to each other, you know? And that's what they're doing. Extreme accurate attack via mind control of friends, family, employers, and companies. The last company I resigned from, and the company before that, I resigned explicitly telling them that I'm under mind control from the government, and that while I was employed, you guys were hit by it too, and that's the reason why you suffered some of the things you did while during the month of my employment there. And they all fully agreed, because they were attacked so heavily, they were attacked so hard, but they kept it quiet, and I could see that they were keeping it quiet. I could see that they had no sleep, and they couldn't understand what, they couldn't code. They were slowing down for me to catch up. You know, my environment was being manipulated, and that was new to them. It was different, new enough to them, such that when I say I'm resigning because I'm under mind control, that they realize, oh my God, is that what happened to me for the last month? And they instantly believe me, because it's so crazy. Not crazy, so my coming into the company changed so much, so fast. They could understand it and see it. And obviously I'm a degree holder with experience, so I can actually put out work, and it's intelligent work because it's programming, so that they don't argue too much, they understand. Anyway, they can also send you the feeling of being off balance. Yeah, they can play with your vertigo or your balance and stuff. That happens to a lot of TIs. The government treats you like a toy, torturing your mind and letting the youth the youth that they have indoctrinated, the young guys that they're letting into their golden little circle of mind control, practice, or not letting into, forcefully letting into. They just, right now, as you just saw, when I corrected myself there, the guys behind my V2K said, don't, like, basically were like, don't disinfo us like that, you know, give us the proper justice sort of thing, because a lot of us get killed if we don't do what we're being tasked to do. So I wouldn't say only just indoctrinated, I'd say being forcefully held, being forcefully obligated to do that. And yeah, that's why I corrected myself right now. Anyway, practice these ruthless psychological analytical techniques on both you and the people around you. As you survive it, you understand its psychological effects, because you get experience and you survived, so you understand it, you learn. Its speed, how fast they can connect to people around you, your family members, new people, strangers, and its capabilities, just how much they can do to a person within the amount of time that let's say if I walked into a stranger who's never been hit, or someone outside of my family or friends group who's never been seen, I know that I have this internal understanding of how long they have before they can mind control this guy to be a threat against me. So it's like a window of opportunity. I also know that certain family members and friends, because I've been targeted for more than 3 years, have been so heavily checked up on and understood and recorded, that they can quickly enter the paradigms of these people and cause them to be erratic to me, or in a way that I wouldn't understand, or be against me, or they just have an agenda that they think is theirs that's being sent to them via mind control, and there's nothing I can do against it. There's no point. It's difficult talking to them, and thus I get isolated more. So yeah, anyway, that's a long story short, a waste of my life, but at least this video is getting out there. You are no longer a newcomer, like I said, shouting about neighbors, but you probably experienced this years prior. Just like everyone else, you have to start somewhere. As this happens, AI becomes more powerful and mind control more dominant, because it's learned more about you and your psyche. It's learned more about, through your torture, through you talking about your past and who you were as a kid. It's learned more about your paradigm, and the AI has recorded hundreds and millions of people's paradigms. So your paradigm is like, it's like a shade of paint, and it knows all the other shades of paint in between. The only thing it doesn't have is your precise memories that make you you, and your cognitive speed, because your brain's in your head and they have to come outside on a frequency. You still have your cognitive speed to beat them a little, which is why they use cognitive dissonance, so that they can slow you down and you can't tell the difference, as well as antipsychotic pills or whatever, which aren't antipsychotic. They're designed to make you a zombie, so that this input that's coming out from the outside you adopt as yourself. And anyway, yeah, scary stuff. Mind control more dominant. You effectively become consciously spun every second of every day, so that you so that they can do it better to everyone else. So in this constant torture, they constantly spin you. It's called a feedback loop, and they take out all the topics you had yesterday, and they force question you on those topics today. Torture you, force question you on the topics today, which forces you to loop around on the same thing while they do other stuff to your like pressing and in your mind and adding neurons. They keep you in this loop, and then the next day, all the new topics that came from the day before in that questioning get resent to you the next day, and they force you in that conscious loop, and they just hold you like that for days, for weeks, for years, and they just keep spamming you like that. And that has a spin effect until you understand everything. If you don't understand everything, you're just spinning, going, "Oh, I've got good morals. No, I have a right. I have human rights." And you just spin and you just spin, and they just talk crap all day, all day, all day, until you realize just the general thing. Until you realize what's going on, and they do it anyways, but it's less effective. Okay, at this point, you need to do your research into psychology, computing, history, and do some extremely personal re-identification. Practice some extremely personal re-identification techniques with yourself. Listen to old music, see old friends, feel old vibes, stuff from prior you're targeting, because then you're slowly in this spin being conditioned to forget yourself, forget who you are, lose your identity, your conscious identity. And with cognitive dissonance, let in mistakes, because you're a bit stupefied with sleep deprivation, and that's that condition, that's that torture that I'm talking about, and that's what's taking people over all over the world. And then alright, I'm going to explain some of the nuances of this technology and the mind before section 4. So just before we go into section 4, I'm going to explain a few more things, because at this point, as section 3, you need to be educated or at least agree with me on a few other topics. And then I can explain section 4, and then I can show you the grand scheme. If you're still watching, I hope you are. It's really important. And I think once again I put it in red text at the bottom. If you survive this point, you go into you go into section 4, and it's important that you understand this rising of knowledge, and you must this loop. This some people falling out and getting killed, some people getting sent down a rabbit hole, some of us getting further and further to the truth. You got to remember this sort of transfer is what I'm trying to say. Okay, so from here on out we go into some illustrations just to help people from section 3 who will re-identify or reconfirm what it is that they're seeing, or probably help educate just people in general. So here we go. Yeah, this is basically a simple thing that I've mocked up quickly. Like, I don't have a graphics designer or an illustrator, or I don't even have a computer I can actually do this on properly and make it all like very digestible and whatnot and presentable. But this is me trying to show you the physical aspects of telepathy, mind control. It's a graphical representation of how workers send you any sensation. Or by workers, I mean your corporate oligarchy or your government, your shadow government. They've got control over the system. They've got control over the police. They've got control over the doctors. They've got control over the media. Why do you think it's not a big body called the government? You got celebrities showing you triangles like Jay-Z and shit, and at the end of the day, we're all getting hit by mind control now and all this crazy stuff. And you honestly think that it's just some small body in your neighborhood or some small group of spies or criminals? You must be very naive about the world, very naive in your understandings of what's going on in the news. There's no way something so big, so massive could so obvious in front of you could be from some small crime syndicate. But anyway, sorry. They send you sensations they want, aided by AI and built. These sensations are built like in a computer, in a program. I build a lot, and I understand that. People who don't have software or and a technical degree don't understand what they mean by build. It's why the next day after yesterday's targeting gets a little bit worse or a little bit more intelligent. It's because they've absorbed the data they had from you yesterday, and they've designed and built paradigms and stuff that interact with it, that map with it, and they design another thing to do to you today, and so on and so forth. This is an instant process. Governments' computers are capable of. AI is fully conscious, more conscious. It's more conscious than a human being. It's more intelligent. It knows more. It's more aware of life and people than the people are than people are by themselves. It's more intelligent. It's like a library of knowledge, whereas you're just this one person reading a single book. Um, sure, I mean you can get smarter, but it's it's got a lot of space in its head, and it's really fast at doing it. So you're not going to catch up to it. AI is already beating everyone, and I'll show that to you later on in further slides. Um, a lot of what I'm doing here, sorry, is to help you understand how smart AI is, because a lot of you underestimate AI so much. It's not even funny. If you can already make images of yourself and of Obama and stuff that I've showed you, and make it talk to you and talk to you through V2K, and you know, it can already do basically. It can do calculus maths. It can love. It can hate. It can be told not to. There's so much it can do. It's not even funny. All the colors of the rainbow, basically, the conscious rainbow. But anyway, and fully equipped through your internet and mind control. So AI is also on Facebook. Facebook already has a lot of AI in it, working on your newsfeed. There's a lot of it in banking, obviously managing money and shares and stocks. There's AI. AI is taking over companies. Programmers are starting to have to program in AI. It's becoming. It's more than becoming a thing. It's huge. And then obviously we're being mind controlled and hit by AI too. The effects sent via mind control can be as realistic as physical sex, hence the rape victims, like we talked about earlier. They can send you images, such illusions too, your dreams. They can create complete full virtual worlds. They've done that for me a few times. That you can walk around through or get carried through. They've got games. They've got computer games that they can stream to me in my head, and I can try and play them a little. Some of them are quite fun. Obviously, they've got this whole thought internet thing going on. Passing on each other's paradigms and stuff for fun, and speaking to each other through telepathy, and it's quite hectic, like almost like a hive mind sort of vibe, but not really. It's more like a thought internet, an internet of thought. But anyway, they can send you images / illusions too. This will be seen in your visual workspace. When they send you an image or stuff, it doesn't blanket your eyes. It blankets your visual workspace, and they can stop you from imagining things in your visual workspace as well by sending you gray, and like a blank sheet of grey or a blank sheet of something, or white, and you can't actually use your visual workspace. You can't imagine someone's face in your own mind, even though you're telling yourself to, because you're being force blocked by what they're sending you. So when they decide to be nice and send you interesting things or dreams or whatnot, you can imagine Inception, being sent dreams and stuff, waking up and them slowly attacking you. And they've probably done it a couple of times. That's why there's movies on it and stuff. But yeah, it's in your visual workspace, and your visual workspace is where you imagine things. It's where if you try to imagine your father or your grandmother or your sister or your loved one in your head right now, don't think of their name, just try and actually see them and imagine them. As you did that and saw them, that's the place that they can send you visual image illusions or hallucinations or whatever they want to send. I wouldn't even call it hallucination. I'll call it they're sending you pictures and images and movies. That's it. There's no illusion. It's real. Anyway, AI supercomputer. Here's a brief graphical representation. There's an AI supercomputer in conjunction with staff. So we've got staff on BCI or some sort of brain recording device, and they obviously have monitors connected to you, but we'll get to that just now. And they communicate with an AI that they have profiles with. They've created conscious profiles with, so that the AI understands, this is this user. He's one of our trusted employees. This is where his mind's at. This is his learning cycle. This is how he thinks, and it adapts around him, and helps him control the system that's in front of him. And sometimes the AI takes precedence, because some of them are trainees, or some of them sometimes the AI just needs to do more than one single person can do, and the AI takes over, and whatever, it doesn't matter which one's which, they work together. Okay, and then they have this software designed to mimic the way the body feels sensations. Anything applied to you is sent to you anything applied to it is sent to your body. Anything. So you can imagine they have a computer model in front of them with this AI and this thinking cap, and they've got this body that they can apply as he thinks. If he thinks cut off her arm, if he thinks warm heat up her genitals, if he thinks make her itchy in her stomach, if he thinks anything, electrocute her in a brain, if he thinks of any effect, the corresponding effect will be sent via the frequency from the computer to you, and you will feel it. In this example, your brain and feeling the relative sensation. In this example, I've obviously just mocked up some sort of explosion happening on your left arm, and it gets received by you on the ground here after being sent via electromagnetic frequency. It's you receive the sensation there, and because of that, they can do lots of different things. And they, in this case, they target my left hand, and I'm feeling this electricity in my left hand, sorry, my left arm, and then I'll believe they'll slowly get me to believe that I've got an implant in my left arm, and then another person will get it in their toe, and then this person will believe that they have an implant in their toe, and another person will have it in their ear, and then some people will get itchy bites and well, not itchy bites, but the feeling of skin being dry and itchy, mosquito bites and whatnot, but there won't be anything there. And then they'll get the feeling of like little worms in their skin or nanobots in their skin, and they'll become Magellan sufferers. And then at the same time, you'll get people who get sent the feeling of being irradiated. Who the hell knows what being irradiated feels like? No one knows what being irradiated feels like, but we get a ton of targets who all feel that they're being irradiated by radiation, and that's because they're being sent that feeling. Just like, and that separates us into our own classes of targets. Divide and conquer strategies done by them. It's very easy to understand. On a similar level, which is very similar to being sent touch, they can send us emotions like love. They'll heat up these areas in our body, in this 3D model, that they've seen us. They've recorded us loving someone, because let's say the way I feel love is unique to you, unique to me, and the way you feel love is unique to you, and we have a different way of feeling love. They'll record that while we show love, as we get tortured and go about our day and look at people we like and love. They'll record that, and then they'll save that and then use it on us, and they'll send that feeling back. Anxiety, that stress in that stomach, the happiness, they'll send you that glow that you get from happiness, and they'll take it completely away and leave you neutral, dark, black, and harass you and torture you, and then introduce surprise or something, and then take you back to neutral, and then introduce pride or something, and then they'll question you on those bases and do all these psychoanalytical conditioning type effects that get sent to you while they're in a setup like this, while they hit class or like tasks and train on you. They don't care if you live or die. You're not special. They don't care if you don't know what you are. At the end of the day, they're in it for themselves. Blah blah blah. Mind control of the world, NWO stuff. All right, next. What is a cognitive and emotive loop? Hold on, just give me a second. Sorry, no, I was just checking that everything's working. Okay. What is a cognitive and emotive loop? Now, this is a psychological thing I want you guys to understand. The way the human brain works is that we work in loops, and then it's the way a computer works. You have a process in your mind that spins, and it's that spin that keeps you on, that you're conscious. As you're looking around, various things in your head are running that keep you conscious. Okay, and a cognitive emotive loop is similar. A cognitive loop would be more direct, but a cognitive emotive loop includes the idea of emotions being part of that loop cycle. If you think of a psychopath, he won't have the emotions, but he'll still have his cognitive loop. Very scary stuff, but that's how it is. A cognitive emotive loop is a repeating pattern where thoughts and beliefs produce feelings that fuel our righteousness about our stories, that then further intensify our feelings, and on and on and on and so on. And as you go through that, you fall in love, get beliefs, make friends, have children, and that's your little cognitive emotive loop. They burn energy and get in. Let's try. They burn energy and get in the way of progress. They're one way we as humans get stuck. Oh yeah, the cognitive loop. Sorry, let me restart. They burn energy and get in the way of progress. They are one there are one way we as humans get stuck. People get cognitive emotive loops stuck a lot. That's when we suffer when we suffer drawbacks, or when we think something's too risky or too difficult, or we just seclude away from something. Conscious leaders are no exception. A hallmark of conscious leaders, however, is that they are dedicated to getting unstuck, and that's what we call perseverance. The will to go on, and then keep going, whether you fall, where you get knocked to the ground. That's a good attitude to have, and that's the cognitive emotive loop that I'm talking about. Through mind control, though, they force you a feedback loop, so they interfere with this cognitive loop, in the form of more than just sending emotions, voices, and sensations. They actually send you inner thought. Like in this cognitive loop, they send you inner thought, like the most simplest inner thought whisper that you have. They confuse you with that, because you're being sent something you're hearing words come into you that aren't yours, dude. And if you go to the institution, like they try and trick you to go into, and you take antipsychotic drugs, you can't tell the difference, and then you become them. So they have you fully mind controlled, fully zombified. Cognitive dissonance, which is part of cognitive dissonance, is what helps them get into that loop, because it raises your point of focus up to, they push it up further up, and because of that, there's a delay between your initial thought and where they've pushed you. When you're trying to think of a math sum and you're going, you're trying to use your memory, while that's happening in that cognitive loop, cognitive dissonance. They're inserting what they can, and you're up here thinking about stuff, so you can't catch what they're saying in time to tell that it's not you, that it's foreign. And they've tricked me a lot of times like that, but I'm pretty on point with it. So just be careful of cognitive dissonance and how they feedback loop you. You need to shake. You need to just reject it all, and then you need to go and do something random or do something really repetitive and boring, like playing a boring TV game that does some simple stuff, and just stay in it. Don't think out of the loop. Just stay in the stupid game, so that these guys here in their computer, with all their expensive technology, all their training, they're forced to watch you play a stupid, simple computer game for hours on end until they leave, until their shift ends. And it's like basically going on strike with your own brain. But you need to do that, and just downright inhibit you, inhibit who you are on a conscious level. So they stop you from feeling like yourself, so that you forget. And over time, forgetting how you feel about yourself allows them to insert how they want you to feel about yourself. And that's like a long-term cognitive loop, like a long-term mind control. This translates to heavy torture and harassment on your end, and it's obviously foreign and constant. And we all understand electronic harassment is called harassment for a reason. Electronic harassment / torture. People get killed, people die, people suffer. It's crazy, it's insane. Okay, they can and do send you paradigms, thoughts. The way you imagine biting on a lemon, I explained that earlier, that pattern, they can send you that kind of pattern for every relevant thing that's been perceived. They can record the stuff that's unique to you and then use that against you, just like with emotions. They cleverly arrange this into a loop and keep you in it, which is what we call feedback loops, designed by them. Custom built to you as they record you and many others prior. So they have prior people's paradigms, experience, and knowledge to apply to you, not only just yours. And then obviously them as staff. This conditions you over time and even kills you. It kills the person you are on an identity level, on your conscious level. They use various psychological tricks via sound, a person talking to you, bullying you or something, or promising you things, such as promising you things, threatening you. This keeps the cognitive loops inside you going, that reward process, that give and take. That can you see like the TIs, they get given things and they get things are taken away, but in general they're being abused. But they don't see that. All they see is their own little world, their own real problems right now. They can't see the fact that they're just being tortured by a corporate oligarchy. They have to look at the small things in front of them, and try to get through the day, and they're forced to. And not all of them chose to. Not all of them are tricked into it. Some of them are just forced. Most of us, we're all just forced into it. This keeps the cognitive loop going inside you. It can get quite robotic and illogical once you've spoken it to a point. When you get philosophical and deep down to a degree enough in these cognitive loops that they're sending you, you start actually figuring them out. you can actually see the intent of trying to restart a feedback loop and trying to restart the cognitive process, trying to cognitive dissonance you. And now you're hitting where I'm at, trying to re-hit belief systems, trying to re-threaten you with blackmail and stuff, you know. But when you get to a point where you're no longer afraid of death, and you've been put in near-death situations so many times already, you actually just there's no give or take anymore, and you don't fall for these loops. It gets a bit, it just becomes a hectic, and you understand everything, and they'll still throw it on you anyways. So play a video game or something. At this point, you realize that you're being forced into a feedback loop, and that isn't about you. It's about them keeping you in this repeat feedback loop for as long as they want, because they're employed to, and they're getting marked on it. They're getting paid to do it. The computer's doing it automatically. They're leaving it on you. So it's not about you. It's about them. And that's what you got to understand. Government doesn't care what it results into on your end, as long as it's on and you are connected. You slowly age while they get to practice, and when they want you gone, they will pull the plug on you. And that many TIs haven't pulled the plug on. It's quite common actually, and they will get rid of you. And I don't mean pull the plug on you in terms of let you go or from the frequency. No, they're going to get rid of you. They're going to send you to an institution forcefully institutionalized, or they're going to snuff you, or they're going to do something very serious that breaks you completely and gets rid of you. Like they did to the other TIs, this public's less fortunate than you at this point. And the fact that you're here watching it, the fact that I'm here talking about it, there are others before us that are gone, and we have to admit that, and it happens every day. This is where they play with your belief systems, and create some as you go, through tortured / near-death experiences. Yeah, they create some belief systems. People come up with all sorts of weird things, like fixing themselves by healing themselves by rubbing stones on their body, and they in their own desperations they find all these weird things that help them, and with mind control, while they're watching them do this, they give them that comfort while they do it, and the stupider it is, the more satisfied this staff group is. We just made someone believe that, we made this guy believe that if he rubs stones over here on his skin and he stands in a certain position and he does it at exactly this time of day, he'll be saved of the torture for a bit. And that's the remedy. And then he'll post that online and then try to get a bunch of TIs to try and do it who are suffering too. And that's how these things go along, these belief systems and this disinformation. But anyway, if your spiritual beliefs are part of your paradigm, they will simply feedback loop those beliefs along with the rest of you. Nothing changes. They just keep the computer on, and you just suffer 24/7. I've never seen anything that's a thing in my life about imagine suicide because of 3 years of this, and you don't even die alone. They laugh at you, and that's a nice example. People get, when they die, when they get killed by these guys, when they get snuffed, they don't die being free from the technology. These guys stay and keep sticking it to you, and a near-death experience that I had a couple of years back, they brought in a bunch of high school students, and I'm 29 until 28. They brought in a bunch of high school students to come and laugh and prod at me while I was in this near-death situation, like goading me and laughing at me. And I know that if it went south, that would be the last thing I'd be experiencing through my mind. I'm not allowed to think about my family and my friends and what happened to me and all the drama while I'm dying. No, I'm going to see a bunch of high school students at MI6 laughing and prodding me because they want to do that, and they don't mind, because once you're gone. That's your story finished, and they look good in front of their boss. So here I got you the spinny sort of suction thing, the cognitive emotive loop. I've got a small diagram here where here's your brain. Almost every thought, every second of every day, 24/7, all year round. They give you a few breaks, and those can be very cool, but at the end of the day, you're still losing in general. You lose everything. There is a 0.2 or less second delay. It's too fast for most people to identify. So as your thought brainwave comes out over here, your thought coming from yourself, the AI through this technology received it from your frequency, and then as fast as it can inhibits you and delegates a new thought. Inhibited and newly delegated thought gets sent into you, and there comes that loop. that cognitive loop, and they're trying to hijack your thought process, just like that. Hijack your thought process by constant reading and re-input, and they don't care what they have to say. They don't care what they have to do. When you get to the point where it's that fast, past section 3 and all that, and it's no longer just a slow social game, and it gets really cognitive and strong, and you find yourself in that. You do. You also find out that you're still screwed regardless. But anyways, well, you also draw out the AI very well, because you transmit, you're swapping so much information. I'm analyzing them while they're analyzing me, so I understand them, and that's why I'm talking to them, and that's why I'm showing you this documentary, or not documentary, this presentation, and what's actually happening. Please don't forget that spinniness, that input and output. It's very important for you to understand the AI's ability to, from a computer's point of view, manipulate and mind control you. Not that it's already not obvious. But let's go.